with a servant leadership mentality, realize that serving people is a priceless opportunity to help people move from point A to point Z, irrespective of their rank in society. Hey, welcome to the Amisi Leadership Podcast, where we are passionate about equipping people with high-capacity tools to drive social transformation. See, every week we'll be dropping a leadership teaching. We'd want you to subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from. And for you to be able to get my teaching today and other teachings that I've done in the past, I'd invite you to visit Amazon and get my latest book, Seed It Out, How Great Leaders Become Great Leader Makers. Now let's dive into our podcast for this week. Conventional leadership teaches us that leadership is about bossing it around, projecting title, projecting rank. Teaches us that leadership is about authoritarianism, where you push your authority as a person, reminding people of who you are, the title that comes before and after your name. But I want to talk to you about a leadership style that is very transformational, that has better and bigger results if you will apply this leadership style, and that is servanthood, servant leadership. And servant leadership is where you start to learn that it's important for you to lead by influencing people rather than projecting title or pulling rank. What is servanthood? Servanthood is a sacrificial act of adding value to others while provoking them to excel. It is really showing those that you lead that you value them, you care about them, by occasionally going out of your way to help improve them and make them better. It's literally shifting the spotlight from yourself as the leader to those that you lead. Your motivation now changes, goes from just being of that of self-interest to that of taking care of those that you lead. And that's the true essence of leadership. You shift the spotlight from yourself as a leader to those that you lead. Your motivation then goes beyond self-interest, because this is the true essence of what leadership is all about. You get to a point and you start learning this very different philosophy of leadership, that he who wants to be your leader has to be a servant. You see, a perfect example of the greatest leader that has ever been and will ever be is Jesus Christ. And he teaches us in John chapter 13, 3-14, do yourself a favor to read that, on this very counterculture form of leadership that inspires, transforms, and influences many that are around you. And there are three lessons that we pick from his model and his example of leadership from that scripture. Number one, to have an attitude of servanthood, we must divorce entitlement and title-mindedness. To have an attitude of servanthood, we must divorce entitlement and title-mindedness. Entitlement is where you're saying, this is how I need you to address me. This is how I need you to treat me. I need the best table in the room. Don't you know who I am? Don't you know the title that comes before my name and after my name? Don't you know I'm a very important person? Don't you know I'm the one who calls the shots in this place? So you need to treat me well. You need to address me properly. You need to give me the best seat in the room. That is entitlement. Entitle-mindedness is really a human problem, a human disease, because many people feel for you to be a leader, you need a title before your name. So we project that title. Don't you know these are my academic qualifications? Don't you know this is my rank in society? Would you address me properly using my rank? So you become somebody who's so title-minded that if anybody called you and not referring to the title that you have, you start feeling like either they don't recognize you, they don't treat you well, and you get offended. For you to be a great servant leader, you've got to divorce yourself from entitlement and title-mindedness. Number two, not only divorcing yourself from entitlement and title-mindedness, but then you've also got to realize that servanthood is not a gift we are given, but it's a choice we must make to humbly add value to others. It is not that it's a gift that you pick on the streets and you by default, you just become a servant. No. It is a choice that you and I have got to make every other day. That as I lead people, as I direct people, I've got to make the choice that I will serve them. That you have this conscious and very intentional decision every day. Who do I get to serve today? How can I serve my people? How can I make those people around me better? How can I get them to flourish? How do I serve them and move them from where they are to where they could be? It is a choice that we've got to make as individuals. Number 3, true servanthood has a ripple effect. It really has got a ripple effect. When we serve, we inspire those that we are leading to also serve. See, if you're leading a team, I need you to understand that people get to look at you and get to see how you're doing stuff. So when you serve people, many of those that you're leading would want to ape or model after you. And that's why I keep on saying this kind of leadership has got a ripple effect. You do it, those that you're leading will also want to serve and do just like you do. You can't get to a place and say, you know what, no, I want you to serve. Don't care what I do. People want to see what you do and they want to model after you. Those are the 3 things that you learn from the greatest leader that has ever lived, and that's Jesus. That servanthood is so key. As we move on, I want to share with you in this podcast 3 pillars. I call them the 3 pillars of servanthood or servant leadership. 3 key pillars, non-negotiables. As in, if you have these 3 pillars, then you realize I'm coming out as a better servant. I'm leading people in a way that is so different, influencing them through relationships so they can become bigger and better. Now, let us look at the first pillar. I call it mentality, the attitude of servanthood. Mentality, the attitude of servanthood. You see, servanthood really is an attitude of the heart before it translates into an action. I want to say that again. Servanthood on the part of a leader is really an attitude that starts from the heart before it translates into an action. Effective leadership starts from the heart before it is a skill. It starts from the heart before it is a skill. And that's why you can't gauge people by what they do first. You've got to start asking yourself, is their heart in the right space? Are they postured correctly? It is not an issue of the end justifies the means. Just because you're doing some servant actions, just because you're doing that doesn't mean you're a servant. You see, every servant leader will serve people. Not everybody who goes out to serve is a servant leader. Why? Because sometimes, and we'll be seeing that as we continue, that motivation is so key. So mentality and attitude of the heart. Servanthood starts from a point of selflessness that maintains a posture of humility and wanting to do good to those who are around us. That's where servanthood starts. And I want to give you 3 ways in which a great servant leader thinks. If you have this mentality, then you know I am a great servant leader. Number 1, great leaders think people first and not position. Great leaders think people first and not position. It is at this spot or this point you have moved from the level where your leadership is based on your title, like I said before, or your position, to influencing people through building relationships. When you start thinking people first and not position, you have moved from the point of where your leadership is defined either by your title or your position to the point of building relationships to influence those that you lead. You're not projecting titles. You're not pulling ranks. You're thinking people first and not position. You demystify where you are, you know. You don't start saying, like we said earlier, you know, this is who I am. You understand, for me to influence people, I've got to build relationships. It is not how authoritarian I am, but it's really a question of, am I building relationships with the people that I'm leading? Are they able to trust me? Are they able to open up to me? They can only do that if you're building relationships that will influence them. I think it's John Maxwell who says, literally, leadership is about influence. You can't influence people that you don't build a relationship with. You can't influence people that you've not given access to your space and to your leadership. Great leaders think people first and not positions. Let me give you a second one. Great leaders think service first and not self-glory. Great leaders think service first and not self-glory. You see, popular culture teaches us that the way for gaining power and the best seat in the room is through what we do. It teaches us really that leadership is a means to you gaining power and the best seat in the room. But people with a servant leadership mentality realize that serving people is a priceless opportunity to help people move from point A to point Z, irrespective of their rank in society. You don't even pick that I will serve those who are maybe well-esteemed in society and look down on those who are not well-esteemed in society. No. A servant leader realizes that leadership is such a priceless opportunity to change and transform people's lives. So I will move out and I will serve everyone irrespective of who they are, their status in society, their academic qualifications. I will move and serve people. In fact, the opportunity that I have as a leader is to make sure that every day I serve people. It's not about me. It is not about my self-glory. It is about serving people first, making people's lives better, transforming them from where they are, impacting society. That's how a servant leader thinks. Service first and not self-glory. Number 3, great leaders would think purpose first and not just result. And I'll talk to you, especially you who is either running a business, you've got some employees around under you. You see, conventional wisdom teaches us that for you as a leader, all you've got to look at is the bottom line. It's just results. Are people churning results? And that's important because if you're in a profit-making business, at the end of the day, you need to make some profit. But great leaders realize that's not just an end in itself. It starts from a point of esteeming the purpose of the people that you're working with and are leading. And when you think purpose first, what comes into your mind is, how do I align the purpose of my organization and the dream and the vision of the people who are serving us so that those two are aligned? Then they start to realize that, listen, we are not just interested in what they do, we are also interested in who they are and what they can become. You start to invest in them, invest in their purpose, lead and guide them, expose them, network them, build their capacity so that it's not just the organization that is becoming better, but the people are also becoming better. They realize that you care so much about their purpose, they feel a sense of ownership and a sense of belonging. Great leaders think purpose first and not just results. I want to challenge you and tell you, would you be that leader who goes out to lead as a servant leader? Would you be that leader who says, I will make sure my heart is postured right? I will think people first, not position. I will think service first and not self-glory. I will think purpose first and not just results, because I'm interested in making people's lives better. I will not succumb or go down to the popular culture of leadership is about me projecting my title or my rank. No, I'll intentionally go out to serve people, make them better, make them big, so that they realize, listen, it's not a win-lose kind of arrangement as I lead people. It is a win-win, where we all own the vision, we all become better, and the leader is out to serve. If you've been watching us, I pray that you'll pick this challenge. I challenge you, please share this podcast with those that you love, those that you care about, those that you know they're in a space of leadership. Share and share and share and share. And last of all, let us know where you're watching us from. You have any question, drop it to us. We'll be able to answer it in the next episode. But then let me remind you, go to Amazon, get my book, seed it out, How Great Leaders Become Great Leader Makers. And I'll tell you, you'll be able to build your leadership like you've never done before, the best decision you'll be making for yourself as a leader. See you in our next episode. See you soon.